from Group 7. My name is Dhanambalin and my metric number A19A0940. Our assignment group topic was the effect of pandemic COVID-19 on economic Malaysia. I want to present about introduction part. Malaysia is a developed country in the economy field. Malaysia has three economy sector, namely the primary sector, the secondary, and the third sector. The main sectors in Malaysia are agriculture, fishery, forestry, and livestock. The second sector is manufacturing and construction. Finally, the third sector is production, services, public services, and other services such as trade, transportation, export, and import. In addition, Malaysia is also advanced in the field of digital technology, which contribute a lot to the country's income. This can be proven through the Digital World Competitiveness Rank 2020 show Malaysia get best place, which ranked 23. For example, digital technologies in Malaysia is MTech, Geek, Foodpanda, and other digital technologies app. Malaysian government provide various economic policies such as National Development Policy, New Economy Policy, National Vision Policy, and National Economic Capital. These policies can develop the country economy, such as providing employment opportunities, improving the living standard of the community, attracting foreign investors to invest our country, the country income will increase, and so on. Moreover, Malaysia is also involved in foreign economic policies such as Asian Free Trade Area after the Growth Triangle. Is the three countries involved: Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and other Asian countries. These economic policies can help Malaysia to sharing science and technology, not imposing tax on Asian goods, connecting infrastructure, and so on. Furthermore, in 2019, the Malaysian economy experienced a downturn and also contribute to various factors such as pandemic COVID-19, unstable politics in our country, rising inflation, world war between China, Russia, America, political changes in abroad, and so on. The negative effect showed Malaysian economy was declined 17.1 in gross domestic product on 2020.
Hello madam, I'm Hariharan Sivakumar and my matrix number is A19A0172. So today I'm going to present my part for the macroeconomics report. So my part for today is economic activities. Economic activities is defined as activity of making, providing, purchasing or selling goods or services. And any action that involves producing, distributing or consuming products or services is an economic activity. Economic activity plays a major role for a country because it will help to increase productivity of the country, and on the same time it will help for the country to trade their services or products with other countries. According to the International Monetary Fund 2020, Malaysia's economy is the fourth largest in Southeast Asia, and it is also world's 36th largest economy. The main economic activities that Malaysia rally and contribute to their economic growth are agriculture sector, industrial sector, service sector, and many more. Firstly, agriculture sector plays a major role for our country's development and improvement. Agriculture activities carried in a larger scale are paddy, rubber, oil palm, and coconut, and others. Agriculture is now a minor sector of Malaysian economy, accounting for just 7.1% of GDP in 2014 and employing just 11.1% of workforce. The agriculture sector crop have also dramatically changed from food crops such as coconut, paddy to industrial crops such as oil palm, rubber. Besides that, Malaysia is the world's largest exporter for palm oil production, which is 18 million. Besides that, Malaysian industrial sector also plays a major role for our country's development. There are three major industrial sector in Malaysia, which are electronic sectors, automotive sectors, and construction industry. Malaysia's automotive industry includes 27 vehicles manufacturers and 640 parts manufacturers. With an annual production capacity over 500,000 vehicles, Malaysia's automotive industry is the third largest Southeast Asia's and 23rd largest in the world. Malaysia automotive industry such as Proton and Todua is the famous brands in Southeast Asia. The Malaysia tourist sector also plays a major role for our country's development. Malaysia is one of the countries with beautiful sceneries and places where tourists can come and visit them with affordable prices. The United Nations World Tourism Organization ranked Malaysia the 10th most visited country in 2012. Malaysia has a wide range of natural attraction that contributes to the country's tourism industry. Mulu Caves, Perhentian Highlands, Langkawi, KLCC, Mount Kinabalu are among most popular tourist spots. In conclusion, economic improvement for a country plays a very important role because it not only improves our country's financial status, but it also increases our country's standard of living, creates employment opportunities, reducing national inflation, and more. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Logapriya Aritas and my matrix number is A19A0249. Now, I am going to discuss about the impact of COVID-19 towards the economic growth. COVID-19 have caused severe economic consequences such as bankruptcies, stock market crashes, and unemployment. As a result, it destroys our Malaysia's economy as well. Firstly, impact of COVID-19 on Malaysia's economy is depression in Malaysian ringgit against US dollar. As a result, the investors are panic of selling to avoid the trading in the current volatile market. As for Malaysia's stock exchange, Bursa Malaysia had sunk to its lowest for the past 10 years, falling by staggering of 20.52% since the start of 2020. This is because the sellers become panicked by selling their shares in fear of the rising volatility stock markets will face due to the pandemic. Moreover, there were few companies which were in the top of production, especially for producing gloves, face masks and hand sanitizers. Top Glove can be said one of them, as they were manufacturing stocks have prospered and become the largest glove manufacturer in the world, and they raise about 30% in their production. Not only that, Malaysia's economy is expected to contract by 3.1% in 2020 due to the sharp slowdown in economic activity triggered by COVID-19. With broad-based vulnerabilities in both private and public investment, the aggregate investment contracted for the fifth consecutive quarter in 2020, and it falls by 4.6% compared to 0.7% in 2019. Malaysia's export of goods and services fell 7.1% for the third consecutive quarter in 2020, and this is due to the poor external demand and the biggest drop since the global financial crisis in 2019. Lastly, COVID-19 has wrecked many Malaysia's main industries. One of them are manufacturing industry. As a result, the global crude oil crisis, which caused oil prices to plunge this year, in addition, material disruption caused by the MCO. Another industry that are badly affected is tourism. Travelers are forced to delay their trips and cancel hotel and flight reservation, and this causes a significant loss for Malaysia. As a result, the country's gross domestic product, which is also known as GDP, become lower since there are less product and services made, and this also increases in unemployment, and unfortunately this leads to the decrease of net income or gross domestic product.
My name is Nur Atira Shamilal binti Muhammad. My metric number A19A1090. So I will explain about impact of the COVID-19 to the employment. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic that has hit the whole world, including Malaysia. It is a health crisis that threatens the survival and well-being of the community. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the result in thousands of people losing their jobs and income, increasing the employment rate to the average of 4.5% last year. If the infection rate COVID-19 increase again, the possibility of increased employment will be high. The closure of most of the business operation because of the MCO and continued until now has affected the loss of jobs and lead to job seekers find it difficult to get a job. The fact is, the outbreak of COVID-19 has severely affected the economic development of our country, and as a result, many of our citizens have been laid off. Employment that occurs in a country will have an impact on the economy of a country. The employment caused by the lack of employment opportunities because of the recession as cyclical employment will lead to an adverse impact on the economic stability of a country. Among the effects of employment on the economy is reducing national output. When there is a lot of employed labor, the production of some sectors of the economy will be reduced, and consequently the state of the country output will decrease. Employment does not encourage economic growth. Output produced by the country cannot achieve the maximum potential output. National income might decrease. This is because the production process is not utilizing all the resources available. Next, the impact of COVID-19 to the employment is reducing national income. When the employment rate is high, then the income profit of entrepreneur will decrease. This will reduce the amount of income tax and profit tax the company can get collected by the government, and in turn will reduce national income. Employment leads to workers losing their job and indirectly lead to reduced income tax collection. This happens because high employment will cause economic activity to decline so that people income will decrease. If tax revenue decrease, funds for government economic activities will also decrease so that development activities will continue to decline. The last impact is increasing the poverty rates. The poverty rate in the country was found to be increasing because many Malaysians fell in poverty after losing their jobs or having their salary cut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As for the economic impact, the impact of poverty has led to an increase in government spending. This increase in government spending is due to the government having to bear heavy expenditure to eradicate poverty. This large expenditure will in turn affect other development activities as it has been spent to cover the cost of poverty education program.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Shazali binti Azmi. My metric number is A19A1107. Today I would like to share about the impact of COVID-19 to the inflation rate in Malaysia. Okay, inflation rate is the measurement to measure the economy in Malaysia. Okay, due to this COVID-19, the inflation rate in Malaysia has rose up unexpectedly. It is because of the rising of aggregate demand. It is because of the price imported goods, and it is because rising cost of production. Okay, the first thing first, the first impact of COVID-19 to the inflation rate is because a rising of aggregate demand, since the government has announced the movement control order to reduce the infection of COVID-19, the people has panic buying to buy all the material goods for their house, and it is caused to the rising of price in the market, such as for the beef and the eggs. The price of beef and eggs has rise up from the normal price to the higher one. Okay, the next one is the changes of retail fuel prices in Malaysia also be one of impact COVID-19 to the inflation rate. According to the Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM), inflation rate in Malaysia has fallen to negative 0.2% during this earlier phase of COVID-19 during March 2020. Okay, it is because the negative reflex of inflation rate caused by lower retail fuel prices. Okay, the changes in fuel prices in Malaysia has made the changes in inflation rates also. Okay, for example, the petrol prices has rose up from 1.27 cent to 2.05 cent. The last one is increase in cost of production. Due to this unbearable pandemic COVID-19, the rising of cost of production is happened unexpectedly. Since the movement control order, all the supply has need to cut off and need to control, and because of this limited supply chains, the market needs to rising the prices, and the cost of production has affected because of the rising of prices. So it can become one of the impact of COVID-19 to the inflation rates.
Hello, my name is Enda Ponji and my matrix number is A19A0124. So let me continue with the question A, which is the impact of COVID-19 to the economics. So nowadays we can see that every country worry about the economy due to this pandemic. This is because for manufacturing, from the supply side to the shift to a decline in business in the service sector. The research that I got from George Koshi, the real GDP growth of Malaysia in 2020 will drop from 4.0% to the negative 2.9%, with up to 2.4 million job loss, which 67% will be from the unskilled workers category. There are impact of COVID-19 to the economy. Firstly, a number of industries are projected to face supply shortage. This is because the panic buying of customer and growing consumer demand, which has disrupted mainland China industry and logistics. For example, of manufacturing, global financial market dropped on February 24, 2020 because of this pandemic. The stock market also fall since the 2008 financial crisis by February 28 in 2020. In March 2020, global financial market plummeted with key index falling by several percent. Therefore, the manufacturing sector will be impacted by the supply deficit. Next is food crisis. Food crisis also the impact of the COVID-19 to the economy, inactivity, agriculture. As we know, there were 80% in food crisis around the world because they depend on the agriculture sector. For example, poultry producer produce smaller quantity of chicken than before the pandemic due to lack of demand from the community. This may cause the income of the company fall. Third, lack of employment opportunity of labor shortage in tourism sector. There is significant where the job opportunities in tourism are declined. This is because the company need to cut off a number of workers. The number of employers had to be reduced because the airport will also be closed temporarily to prevent people from foreign country entering our country. So indirectly, economic income in each country through the tourism sector will also fall. This impact also increasing the medicine funding. This is because every country need medicine for their patient who are infected with COVID-19. If they need more medicine, means the payment also high. For example, our country Malaysia, who spend more money to buy the vaccine. Our government had ordered 33.5 million doses to given 16.7 million people in our country. This vaccine is very expensive, so we can see that the problem consume a lot of expense in the cost of treatment. This will cause the country economy to shrink. Last but not least, the outbreak has an immediate and significant impact on the global art and cultural heritage sector. Many people has lost contract or job either temporarily or permanently with very degree of notice and financial help. For instance, individual and the economy have benefits significantly in places like Australia, where they account for around 6.4% of GDP. So by March 2020, most cultural institutions throughout the world has been shuttered forever. So I can conclude that the economy in the country is deteriorating as a result of the effect of the disease. Thank you.
Hello madam, my name is Kadaresa Narayanan, my matching number A19A0210. Now I'm going to explain about the economic policy implementations. The spread of COVID-19 has had a significant impact on Malaysia. COVID-19 has an impact not only on public health issue but also on global economy. In Malaysia, many important economic sectors that contribute to national income have had to be stopped because of the pandemic, which has resulted in a drop in the country economic income. To overcome this kind of economics problem, usually two types of policy carry out in economic, which is fiscal policy and monetary policy. Firstly, the government should implement fiscal policy by spending less or taxing more. A tax cut could benefit the middle class depending on the policy orientations and priorities of policymaker. This same group will have to pay more tax than the wealth up class in periods of economy downturns and in increasing policy. The use of government spending and taxing policy influence economic conditions such as aggregate demand for goods or services, job inflations, and economic development. When private sector invest fails, the government may spend more and either lower tax to boost aggregate demand directly. When the private sector spend too much on consumptions and new investment venture, the government may reduce aggregate demand taxes. To address Malaysia economic problem, government adopt the same fiscal policy, approving an RM6 billion, which is 0.4% of GDP, which include increased health spending. Besides that, there will be some tax and social security relief. Cash transfer to affected industry and spending on rural infrastructures are two examples. The government declared the electric bill which be discount and the temporary pay leave worth RM0.62 billion, less than 0.1% of GDP will be granted. Second stimulus package worth RM25 billion, which is 1.7% of GDP, was unveiled, which include additional health spending. Government cash transfer to low-income family pay incentive to help employers retain jobs and infrastructures investment in East Malaysia are all examples of government spending. Secondly, the government should implement monetary policy to overcome economic problem in the pandemic. The demand side of economic policy is monetary policy. Monetary policy can be categorized as either expansionary and contractionary. Expansionary is if a country is experience high unemployment because of slowdown or freezes, the monetary authorities may implement an expansionary policy to boost economic growth and activity. The monetary authorities also reduce interest rate as part of expansionary monetary policy, which serves to the encourage investment while making saving relatively unfavorable. Contractionary is increased money supply will lead to higher inflations, which rise living and business costs. The aim of the contractionary monetary policy is to reduce inflationary by rising interest rate to slowing growth of the money supply. This can overcome economic growth and rise unemployment to keep the economic stable. This monetary policy assists the government in overcoming the economic difficulty brought by COVID-19. The Central Bank of Malaysia (BNM) lowered the overnight policy rate in 3 consecutive MPC meeting in response to the crisis, and the OPR has been cut by 1 to 5 basic point to 1.7%, include the January rate adjustment. In March, the policy response was aimed at addressing market distribution and finance market uncreated, but has since shifted to addressing poor global economic conditions and low inflationary pressure. In the conclusion, Malaysia's fiscal and monetary policy will help the country solve its economic problems during the pandemic. That's from my part. Thank you.
Last part is a conclusion. The government helped this economic sector by increasing spending in the economic sector and reducing its tax. This is because when the government reduces tax, then the income of the individual or society can be improved. For example, The government does not need to impose on individual tax on small and medium enterprise so as not to burden to their business. Therefore, a reduction in tax in business and corporate will promote and increase investment, then job will be increased. In addition, the government also encourage people to get involved in e-commerce and e-investment economic activities. This is because online business activities can help people generate income. For example, we can be a shipper who is an agent helping small traders to sell their goods to customers. Furthermore, SME traders can sell their product in online like Lazada, Shopee, Grab Parcel and so on. This way we can reduce unemployment in the society. My next point is bank didn't charge any interest. For example, the Malaysian government can instruct to all banks in the country not to charge interest on loans that to business so that traders do not have any financial problem. Next, our government can also provide investment promotion such as tax relief, providing labor, investment allowance and so on. My final point is to give a moratorium policy to small and medium sized business SME. A moratorium is the official suspension of monthly installment payments from payers to the bank without any fine or penalties. There are two methods. First, SME can choose an automatic moratorium for 9 months, or the second method, pay a 60% reduction in rate payment for 1 year. Finally, these measures could help the country economic growth from the COVID-19 pandemic. That's all only. Thank you, madam.